All right, this is going out to America. America, we are in danger right now of a bill that's about to pass that could ban organic farming. And here at the Raw Naked Food Studios, we want to send out this message to everyone who watches this and could benefit from it. So we are going to read a little bit of the piece of legislation sitting down right now in Congress, getting ready to be passed into law. And we encourage you to write a letter to your local political officials and let them know how you feel. So, H.R. 875 is a bill that pretty much says the following, and this is really interesting. It's pretty much to establish the Food Safety Administration within the Department of Health and Human Services. What they want to do is to protect the public health by preventing foodborne illness, ensuring the safety of food, improving research on contaminants leading to foodborne illness, and improving security of food from intentional contamination, and for other purposes. That is directly quoted from the piece of legislation, and it's pretty much the intention of this bill, which is very vague in many ways. That little piece that I read from you can read it for yourself. Go to, you guys could access that. I will post that on my Facebook and any other piece of stuff I got out there on the web. But in a nutshell, this is what's going to happen. I want you to pay attention to section 103, 206, and 207. Read it in its entirety. These are really, really important pieces in the legislation that one has to read in order to really understand what's going on. Section 3, which is the definitions portion of the bill, read that in its entirety as well, as it sets forth who are the experts, co-experts in this tragic bill that's about to pass. So what does this bill do? What does it do? Well, it legally binds state agriculture departments to enforce federal guidelines, effectively taking away the state's power to do anything other than being food police for the federal department. So in a nutshell, regardless of whatever state laws you have in your state, if you live in California, you probably have the most amazing federal state legislation for organic farming. You have really great laws over there. But what this does is it pretty much says that this federal law, which is federal, it trumps anything that the state says. So in a nutshell, the state will become the ultimate law, and you will have to abide by it no matter what, and you could get fined for it if you don't abide by this law. It also effectively criminalizes organic farming, but doesn't actually use the word organic. But if you read the bill in its entirety, you'll notice that the definitions part, again, you're going to have to go to the FDA site in order to figure out what they're talking about, because they do use words like adulterated and other types of words. I'm going to quickly read you a piece of this that's really interesting, that I found really funny. So there's I'll read it to you later. I can't find it now, but what this bill also does, it affects anyone growing food, even if they are not selling it but consuming it. It affects anyone producing meat of any kind, including wild game. Legislation is so broad-based that every aspect of growing or producing food can be made illegal. There are no specifics which is bizarre considering how long the legislation is. So this is pretty bad because you could even have to pay a fine if you're caught growing, if you're not even selling it, which is bizarre. Now, I do advise everyone to grow inside your own home. That is probably the best way to get past this law, because you do have that right to privacy, which is a fundamental right, and it is in the Constitution, and it is protected. So I would suggest for everyone out there to start growing, clearing out your closet and start growing your own organic food in your own home, in your own rooms. It's the only way you're going to get past what's going to happen. So Section 103 is almost entirely about the administrative aspect of the legislation. It will allow the appointing of officials from the factory farming corporations and lobbyists, and classify them as experts and allow them to determine and interpret the legislation. So who do you think these people are going to side with? They're going to side with the big companies that are pushing for this legislation, which are Monsanto and other big type of fertilizer corporations out there that want to spray everything and contaminate the whole world. And on a side note, it's funny because one of the things that this law is set forth to protect is food that gets contaminated. But by spraying it with chemicals, you are contaminating the food, and it is dangerous for consumption. So it's kind of ironic in every way. Section 206 defines what will be considered a food production facility, and what will be enforced of all food production facilities. See, the wording is so broad-based that a backyard gardener could be easily fined, which is another thing to kind of watch out for. And Section 207 requires that the state's Agriculture Department acts as a food police and enforce the federal requirements, which is, that's probably the worst one, because there's going to be another watchful eye on what happens. So this takes away the state's power, and it is in violation of the 10th Amendment. Well, that could be argued in court, and then in a nutshell, this is really dangerous, and this law needs to be brought to everyone's attention. So I urge you all to let your congressperson know.